The trip that ended it all. Yo, what's up? It's someone that's no one, and welcome back to today's report. Today's report was sent in by Odie, where he took Dimenhydrinate and Diphenhydramine. And here's the full report details. Alright, we got quite the delirium report here today. One detailing addiction with him. Odie brings up how he got in the over-the-counters, specifically the time where his parents found out because of a misstep overdose. He notes that he was taking upwards of 1250 milligrams of Dimenhydrinate daily, which the common brand name for this is Dramamine. Dimenhydrinate is a combination substance containing both diphenhydramine and achlorotheophylline, a caffeine-like substance we'll eventually get into. It is interesting to see here though that he turns to Dramamine so he wouldn't have to pop as many Benadryls. But this experience he takes both, and it's enough to where he can't function in front of his parents. And what follows would change his life forever. This is a really interesting story and one I'm sure you'll enjoy. So without further ado, let's dive right into this. I have a good trip report for you. I hope you can review it. It's a bit long, but I think there is some useful info in here. Before I get into this story, I just want to give my background on how I started. I started using over-the-counter drugs when I was 15 years old. I was looking for easy ways to get high, and I found that DXM was at the store, so I stole a bottle, and I was amazed. Later on, I was getting a bit bored of the same stuff, so once again, I looked for easy ways to get high, and found Benadryl. I took it at school. When I was in in-school suspension, I think I took 400 milligrams for my first trip. I could see some visuals, it made me feel emotionally numb, it made me feel in my own world, and I loved it even more than DXM. I later got tired of taking 20 pills to get where I wanted, so I used Dimenhydrinate 50 milligram pills so it would cut the amount I would have to swallow in half. Dimenhydrinate was my main drug for about 4 to 6 months. I would use it anywhere between 200 and 1250 milligrams at a time. In about 2 months, I started using at least 1000 milligrams after school. Sometimes in school at the same dose. Okay, let's start the story now. I would like to say more, but I would not like to bore everyone. So at the time, I was super depressed and had been caught many times doing this stuff. I was dealing with emotional abuse from my mom. I won't go into detail. At the heavy doses I would take daily, 1000 to 1250 milligrams, I knew this stuff could probably kill me, but I was so depressed, I was just cool with it. It all started when I was at my house. I remember my mom telling me that dinner was going to be ready in 30 minutes. So I, for some reason, took 1000 milligrams of diphenhydramine 10 minutes after she told me that. I never would take this stuff and expect to even see my parents, but I did. I was 20 minutes late and my mom told me to come and eat. And right when I was walking downstairs, I started feeling it kick in very hard. I just tried to mellow out and play it cool. So I went and grabbed my plate and realized I hated eating on this stuff. So I was just going to try and eat it slow, but it made me just not want to eat even more. So after a couple bites, I decided I was just going to tear the plate up and get it done quick. I tried to eat it super quick, and I remember looking over to see what was on TV and saw my mom just staring at me. I was a bit worried, so I just stared at her back and asked, "What?" She said, "What are you doing?" with a concerned look on her face. I simply said, while messing up my words, "I'm eating." And she replied, "Why are you eating a rag?" I was like, "What? I'm not eating a rag." And I looked back at my plate, and somehow a rag was right in the middle of it. She then started to freak out and asked, "What's wrong with you?" I was just saying nothing and not too worried about it. She then got up and proceeded to look at me in the eyes and said, "You're high." I said no, and she said to go to your room and for my stepdad to follow so I don't fall. I got in my room and I could just see the disappointment in both their eyes. My mom said she was going to go get a drug test to see what I was on, but was debating that because she thought I was overdosing on ecstasy, which I hadn't even done at this point. So my mom leaves and my stepdad asked me, "So where's the drugs?" I said I don't have any more. He just kept saying, "Where's the drugs?" I tried to start fake crying to buy more time to think, and it worked for a little bit. He said I can show him where they are, or he'll find them himself. If you get out, I'll get them. Then he just asked, "Where are the drugs?" I had a bunch of Dimenhydrinate bottles in my closet empty, and a full bottle of Diphenhydramine under my pillow. But my mom later got back and took me to the hospital. They walked me to the back seat of the car and locked both child locks. When we arrived at the ER, we went up to the teller, and very loudly and angrily, my mom said, "My son is overdosing!" So they quickly took me to the back and took my vitals. My heart rate was a bit high, so they then walked me to a hospital room with a bed. They asked me what I took. I just said, "I don't know, it was just one pill." So they just put me on some fluids, and surprisingly, did not make me drink charcoal. When I was laying down, I was seeing spiders everywhere in the room. I knew they were fake. Later, my grandma had to come and watch me because my mom didn't get a chance to eat. She just made me feel even worse than my mom, so I just started to ignore her later when my vitals returned to normal and I came down. I went home to find my room torn apart like a SWAT team just raided me. And of course, now all my drugs were gone. The after effect of this trip. About a week of my parents not taking me to school, they asked me if I wanted to go to rehab or go with my real dad. I didn't want to leave my stepdad because I actually loved him more than my mom. And I didn't want to make my mom mad, so I said I'll go to rehab. The next day, we went to Dallas, Texas by car and arrived in about 12 hours. I met some super cool people there, and I genuinely liked it. During one of my family sessions, my mom came to see me in person. She would usually call for convenience. During this family session, she brought a text I sent to my friends from my school laptop. She said I was a bad person for saying I wanted to kill myself to my friend. She also said that I was out in the middle of the night picking magic mushrooms, which I had also not done at this time, accusing me of planting them there. I wanted to get rid of this guilt that was building, so I started to scratch myself really hard to where I was bleeding. A week later, my counselor told me I needed to talk to c.p.s, and that he could not let me talk to her, which I was actually very happy about. So that same day, we called my real dad, which I had his number memorized. I then got out of rehab, started using it again, but in smaller amounts, and got tired of it. This stuff does have lasting effects. I think it can cause brain damage because when I stare at a pattern for 4 to 5 seconds, it starts to look like a spider from a trip, and I occasionally bump into walls because my perception is off a bit. Well, that's all I have for you today, and I wish anyone that dips into these drugs to be safe.